Good afternoon. Okay. So welcome to the master class. I mean, I don't know if I was ready. I just wanted to let you know. So I'll just talk about reactivation. I'll do what I was going to do. And hopefully it'll work for Amy. But I really thought about this first. I'm reading from Amy's book, Moonshot, Aim High, Dive Deep, Live an Extraordinary Life. And as you see, it's pretty dog-eared because I've definitely used it. And this is the book that we kind of work out of loosely. Chapter 7 and month 7 is reactivation. And reactivation, the ordinary definition of reactivation is restore something to a state of activity, bring back into action. Reactivation, the extraordinary definition, is to receive, charge, and give charge to an energetic exchange of excellence. Our quote that goes with this is, love is the extremely difficult realization that something other than oneself is real. Love is the discovery of reality. And I do have something I'm going to read out of that chapter. Do you want me to wait to do that? And then I'll read choosing aloha every time. So this is page 106 in the book. The volcano is erupting as I write this. Lava lakes are forming and the magma is surfacing after years underground. That which was unseen is becoming visible. The unconscious is becoming conscious. When this happens, transformation is born. Many moons ago, the leader of the American culture, John F. Kennedy, declared that we would go to the moon and that we would do the impossible. The moon represents the unknown. It also represents the unconscious, the emotional realm of dreams and liminal reality. Many rallied together and supported the proposal. Many naysayers questioned the purpose, saying, let's tend to life on earth, the poverty, the addiction, the war. Yet we had to aim high to reach for the extraordinary, to find the sea of tranquility. This moonshot was an invitation to an extraordinary life. This moonshot nearly 50 years ago allowed the perfect alignment of the stars to create my natal chart. My parents celebrated in extraordinary fashion with 4 children under 10 running down the beach. It's New Smyrna. Betty and Dan saw the glow in the water as the waxing gibbous moon sat poised at the ultimate target. The thrill of collective accomplishment swirled in their veins and fueled their lust. Love rekindled. Once again, another egg and sperm merged, and I was conceived. And I was conceived.
Thank you, Mary, for reading that. It's funny that you had that page because that's what page I had open too, but I was going to read the next part. So I think we can move away from that for a moment. But thank you for reading that. It's always interesting to reflect back on that. And it's just that purpose that served in the chapter on reactivation is my parents didn't have a marriage that was very actively engaged, physically, lovingly, relationally. And so there was something about the moonshot and that declaration that was very much a collective energetic exchange. There were a lot of people having a lot of strong opinions about man landing on the moon. And I grew up thinking everyone was in support of it. But as I did some research, there were a lot of naysayers that said, we need to be putting our resources right here, right now. And so in holding that reality that there's the both and, I think, how does that apply to our day-to-day life? How do we aim high and dive deep in our own life, as well as tend to the mundane and find magic and meaning in those moments? So that's what I wanted to offer up today as we look at reactivation. How do we move from feeling perhaps depleted or there's not enough or that lack energy into a place of spiritual abundance, a place of enoughness, a place of feeling really resourced to be able to do life, to have the things we think we want, and to be the person we know we truly are in our true essence. So that's kind of the framework for reactivation. And I appreciate that you read the definitions. It's one of the ones that really sticks with me in terms of that energetic exchange of excellence. So I would love to kind of map out our time together today. All of you have worked with me in some capacity before, so you're familiar with kind of pulling in all the swirling ideas with a thread of meaning. And the thread today is around reactivation. And we will be having our special guest, Everett, come on, and Mary will introduce him a little bit later. And I wanted us to start, I mentioned, that reactivation, sometimes for me, the pendulum swings a little bit. And I was doing all the things this morning and feeling way more energy than I felt the last 3 or 4 days. It's been a big week. As Mary reminds me, life gets lifey, and many of you know, we've had some things going on. So when the energy rushes back, it can feel almost manic, a little bit like nervous energy, like too much blood running through my veins. So what always helps me is to come back with the breath. It is the perfect tether. Those times where I don't feel like I have enough energy, it can activate me. And those times where I feel like I have too much, it can help settle, like taking the snow globe and shaking it and letting the contents settle. So Everett and I talked about which one we would like to do this morning, and we're going to do the Foursquare breath. So many of you already know this. It's the 4 inhale, the 4 pause at the top, the peak of inhalation, so max capacity where you have not just oxygen in your lungs, but I really invite you to focus on the deep diaphragmatic belly breathing as well. So really feeling that sense of fullness and satiation in your body. Pausing there for a count of 4, emptying slowly. Well, for me, it's kind of quick because it's a quick 4 count. And then pausing. I'm already feeling calm just talking about it. Pausing at the bottom of the exhale upon that real sense of emptiness. And for some people that can create a, oh no, there's no oxygen there, but it's just a moment and another moment, another moment, and another moment. And then we start the inhale again. We do this 4 times for 4 rounds. So Mary, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you while you're settling in, and then we'll just invite everyone. Phoenix Rose, you can join us too, darling. She'll feel mama's energy as well. Just closing your eyes or lowering your gaze if you're comfortable, inviting that structural alignment of your head over your heart, over your hara, your guts. Inhaling sweetly and pausing. Exhaling. And pausing. Second round, inhaling for 4. Pausing. Exhaling. And pausing. Sweet, deep inhale, filling the belly. Pausing. Exhaling. And pausing. Inhaling. Pausing. Exhaling. Pausing. Releasing the conscious breath practice and just returning to your natural rhythm of breath, noticing any shifts in your body. I certainly feel my voice dropping, my heart rate lowering, that sense of calm. I also observed my thoughts going, oh, but I didn't tell people we were going live to YouTube. And I see some people put their cameras off, and that's totally fine. I do want to remind you that we will have time for more interactive exchange of excellence at the top of the hour. We will stop the recording and we'll open up for question and answer and more of a back and forth at that time. So thank you for participating in the breath work with whatever level you engaged with that. You get out of it what you put into it, is my experience. I did mute a couple of people. If you need to unmute, let me know. I will make Mary the co-host so that she can do that. And yeah, it just feels like a big swirling energy today. And we're just riding with it. So where are we in the agenda, Mare? Is it time to do more there? I don't have mine up. Nope, we're good. Okay. So now I can't do the unmute thing. Okay, I'm gonna pick Moonshot back up. One thing that really grounds me and reactivates me is when I use the sentence stems, the 6 sentence stems that many of you are already familiar with. It's a way of anchoring into the present moment. As I'm sitting here, I'm experiencing, reflecting back on where I've been with where I'm from, looking at where I want to be and identifying that, identifying one thing I can do to help get me there, looking at what matters most in this moment, and then always grounding in appreciation of one thing I appreciate. And I don't always do those sentence stems in a particular order, but they really do serve to reactivate my thinking in terms of what can I let go of and surrender, and where can I put my action to give maximum efficiency, maximum service, and really help get where I want to go. So this is from page 107. It just picks up where Mary left off, and it's where I'm from. My grandmother, my mom's mom, took care of me at 9 months old while my mom kept vigil at 2 hospitals. Mom was at Florida North Hospital for her husband, my father, who had had his first heart attack under the age of 40. My mom was at Orange Memorial, the other hospital, for her father, my grandfather, who had had his first mental breakdown requiring institutionalizing in 1970. My parents divorced several years later. My grandmother died from alcoholism, and my grandfather died from colon cancer. Where I'm from is a lot of heart, ranging from heartache and dis-ease to a powerful quality of love that surpasses my conscious understanding. The story I tell myself is that my ancestors lived and loved so hugely, sometimes it hurt. So much it hurt. As I'm sitting here, I'm experiencing terrific health of body, mind, and spirit. I feel my feelings intensely when they arise, and I ride the emotional wave to the shore. I feel it to heal it, while at the same time, I lead a purpose-driven life, and I don't let my feelings call the shots. I carefully train my mind to notice what stories I'm entertaining, which may prolong the emotional intensity. I'm curious about epigenetics, the study of biological mechanisms that switch genes on and off, as well as the quality of lifestyle to determine aspects of health. I take good care of my body. My body is host to a microbiome I respect and feed and care for lovingly. Where I'd like to be is reactivating women and men toward health, to be utterly free of heart disease and the accompanying mental anguish, to break from multi-generational transmission of heartache in all its iterations. This is my moonshot. I'd like women to name that heart disease is the #1 killer and tame that disease by owning their richness of emotional reality, but not letting it pummel them to harmful consequences. I'd like to be in a culture that recognizes the power of epigenetics to enhance our well-being. May we treat the whole being holistically, not just put time and effort into managing symptoms with medications or surgeries. I'd like wholesome lifestyles, healthy life living to be the norm. The trends of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, as well as the epidemic of sleeplessness and chronic busyness, all of these diminish as a deeper knowing about the power of healing grows. What matters most is being here now and living in the now, the guts, the intuition, the internal guidance system. From this core place, I'm able to choose aloha over pilakia, no matter what. Pilakia is the drama and the trauma. Even with the lava flowing, destroying homes and creating new land, gratitude is a way of life here and is intimately connected with generosity. People genuinely care. They give because it feels good and goes far in terms of what must be done. One thing I can do is stay active in mind, body, and spirit. By reactivating my connection with spirit, my higher power, I'm thriving in optimal health. For me, that power used to be a male god, lording authority over my serenity and judging my afterlife. No longer do I believe in this patriarchy. No longer am I willing to allow male authority figures to call the shots for the quality of my life. One thing I appreciate is a good cup of black coffee from Ka'u here on the island. The anti-inflammatory aspects of coffee alert my brain and enhance my well-being. So I will stop there. Thanks for letting me read that. Part of my moonshot is to stay energetically involved with moonshot, because after I wrote it, it's very interesting to stay in a loving, compassionate place with that. So I wanted to mention that reactivation is in the realm of compassion. It is in that realm of softening our relationship to ourselves, to others, and to spirit by dropping out of the magnifying mind and into a more tender heart. We did this through having clarity, through having openness, and now we're doing that reactivation. And I believe the hand gesture when we were doing this in group, Mare, the reactivation was when you put your hands in a bear grip. If anybody wants to do this, typically it's the left hand out, the right hand in, and you bring your knuckles together. I don't know, Melissa, if you'd be able to do this with Babe in your arms, but you inhale and exhale. And what this does as you're pulling the hands, it's activating the heart center. Thanks for participating, Ev. Let's do it for a few moments. Inhale. And it looks cool on the screen to see the arms waving around. And then release. And just even after 10, 20 seconds of that, there's energy in the shoulders, releasing the weight of the world there, bringing energy to the heart. And again, using that breath, the inhale and the exhale. So for today's Power Hour, I really wanted to think about reactivation in terms of what are we consuming and receiving from out there, and what are we giving and putting out there in terms of that energetic exchange of excellence. So it is about 9:20. What's next on the agenda, Mare? Are we moving on to Ev? Does that sound good? Okay. Would you like to introduce him? I can't unmute you.
Oh, yes, sorry. That's okay. I'm not used to the phone. And I haven't really been able to be on my computer all morning. It's a long story. So, but I'm going to wing it with Everett because I feel pretty passionate about him as a person. Everett is the oldest son of Amy and Mark. He's big brother to Toby. And what I know about Everett, what my experience with Everett is, he brings his whole self, his whole presence, anytime I've interacted with Everett, which is really more than two handfuls by now. And he's fully present, very impressive in his presence. And what else I want to say is that I've always tend to hear, and I'm hearing it more, that, oh, our world, we're not going to have a world for our kids. And, you know, I beg to differ. I believe that it's a self-centered, like this time is so special in the millennial of time that we are destroying it as these adult people. And I'm here to tell you, it is people like Everett that make me believe like these kids are going to invent vessels that aren't plastic. They're going to, you know, it's like there's so much industry. There's so much passion. Like this is their world and they're going to make it happen. And so I really, Everett is one of those young ones. I've got enough of them in my life, but I believe the world will be okay because they will make it so. It is their world. And I love them for it. So without further ado, Everett, let's go. Whoop, whoop.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here today. I've been thinking about what I'm wanting to say about reactivation and just where to start. So I guess the first thing I want to do is when I was starting to prep for this, I just looked up what the dictionary definition from Merriam-Webster is for reactivation, and it is the act or process of making something active again or becoming active again. So pretty self-explanatory there. I think we all could see that one coming, but I just wanted to kind of bring that in as a foundational block to start this little talk here today. And the next thing I want to do is kind of talk a little bit about what's been going on with me recently, because I think there was an email sent out about it, so some of you might have a little idea, but I'll try to condense this into a few minutes here. But the four of us, my mom and dad and brother, we went on a little vacation to the neighbor island of Kauai in early June, which was a really great getaway. We hadn't really traveled anywhere in close to a year and a half. So that was a rejuvenating experience, a reactivating experience in and of itself. But the day after we got back here and got home, I ended up in the ER at midnight with appendicitis and got my appendix removed, and that was a journey on its own. But while they were in there doing their operation, they also found a tumor on my liver. So that's been something that's going on in my life and the lives of those around me, and I kind of want to use that as a touchstone for how I go about talking about reactivation here today. So when we look at reactivation as the act of becoming active once again, that's definitely been the case for me over these last 4 weeks or last month, I guess, since June 14th when I had my appendix removed. And obviously there's a lot of physical reactivation and regrowth and regaining of strength that I've been doing and I'm still doing. I was told that I need about 4 weeks for everything to get back up to my pre-operation activity level. And then yesterday I actually flew over to Oahu for some more tests and appointments. And there I was told that it's going to be a lot more than 6 weeks. And then I've probably overdone a little bit of that. So I'm okay. No rips or hernias or anything like that. But in terms of my physical reactivation, it's definitely been becoming active once again. At first it was just being able to sit up, and then being able to sit up without pain, lifting groceries, walking to regain some strength in my legs and lower half. And then I played a lot of soccer all of a sudden, started running, biking, and that's all been a large part of my physical reactivation. And I'm remembering last time I was here as a guest on one of these master classes, I was talking about the topic of repair. And I think it's a lot easier to dimensionalize and look at action and say, oh, that's repair, than it is to do that with reactivation. It seems like a little bit more of an obscure concept and process to be actually like, this is an example of reactivation and this is what it does. But I think that's largely in part just because reactivation isn't necessarily a word or concept we use in our day-to-day lives. It's not something we're as familiar with as repair. So that's not at all to say that reactivation is any less important. It's just more of an invitation for us to really look at it and be comfortable with everything we don't know about it and realize that reactivation is a pretty wide scope and a lot of things can fit under it. There's plenty of places where reactivation and repair can overlap with one another, but there are plenty of places where they don't as well. So with that being said, I want to kind of look at how we break down reactivation and what it is. And I'm sure it will be many more things than everything I'm going to say, but this is kind of my take on it right now. So as the dictionary definition tells us, reactivation is the act of becoming active once again. And like I said, this is definitely true. As I was talking about with my surgery, the physical process of reactivation is pretty evident. It's pretty clear and easy to see. But there's also so much more to reactivation than just the physical rejuvenation. And I'm also going to talk about the extraordinary definition of reactivation, like Mary just read at the beginning of today. So once again, in Moonshot, the extraordinary definition of reactivation is to receive and give charge to an energetic field of excellence. And I think, in other words, this is saying that reactivation is not just about physicality. There are mental, emotional, physical components that all go to regrowth and all fit under the umbrella of reactivation. And so if we go back to the example of my surgery and recovery, we can see that these are all true as well. In addition to the physical recovery I am still doing, there has been a lot of mental preparation and fluctuation that I have had to undergo as well. And this is one of those things where I've never mentally prepared myself for the possibility that I might have a tumor somewhere in my body. So just hearing about that was a shock at first. And then ever since then, it's kind of been a roller coaster along with my emotions of just trying to figure out where do I go next, and then coming back and being humbled because I don't know much about it yet. I'm still waiting on test results and all that. And so all these mental and emotional components, they definitely do fit under reactivation. And I'm not totally sure how they all fit under it so far, because this is still a process that's in the works and hasn't had a clear closing yet, and may not for a little while longer. But reactivation is so much more than getting back physical strength. And in terms of the part about interactive and energetic exchanges, I think those are so important in all the interactions we have with people around us in every part of our lives. And that's also been a big part of my reactivation within this, just meeting with doctors, surgeons, nurses. There's a lot of interaction there. And that's been so important because that's how I'm learning what to do next and finding out more information. So those energetic exchanges are quite literally helping me move forward and reactivate and have more peace and peace of mind with what's been going on with me. So yeah, I also have a word in here I was wanting to talk about a little bit, which is holistically. And Mom, you were just talking about this also, which is kind of cool. But reactivation definitely is something you have to look at with a big picture. It's something that's got to be looked at holistically because, like I've been saying, it's not something you can put into a small category and look at, I'm reactivating this small part of my life or just the mental aspect of this one process. It's something that's going to overlap with what's going on physically, what's going on mentally, what's going on emotionally, and what's going on spiritually, and what's going on with the people around you. Reactivation is a lot about reacting. I mean, that's part of the word. You react to the scenarios and the people around you, and you also react to what's within yourself. And yeah, that's what's so brilliant about it, and so brilliant about so many other things, is that we have control and sovereignty over ourselves and how we react to certain scenarios, but we can't control a lot of the scenarios that we're going to be met with. So once again, that's where I keep coming back to with this whole thing and my experiences, and it seemed like it fit pretty well under the topic of reactivation here today. And yeah, I just want to say that reactivation is a lot about being attuned with what's around you as well as what's within you. And it can occur on an individual, communal, national, or global scale. The example I've been talking about obviously has been pretty localized. I mean, it's not just affecting me, it's affecting those around me also, but it's been a pretty small scale process of reactivation in the larger scheme of things. And there's plenty of reactivation that needs to go on in the country and in the world. And that's a longer conversation probably for another day. But yeah, it's not something we can try to confine to any specific magnitude or time frame for that matter. So I do have a little list here of certain activities that help me feel reactivated, which I'll go through and read. And those are playing soccer, eating a good meal, the feeling of completion for tasks, both big and small, running through the rain, seeing someone I care about after being away from them, running and diving into the water at the beach, and then hiking and immersing myself in nature. And these are activities that I get to do some of them more than others, but every time I walk away from any one of those 7 or 8 things I just listed, I always come back and I feel rejuvenated. I feel reactivated. I feel like I'm more attuned with myself, and therefore I can be more attuned with other people. Because like so many of the distinctions outlaid in this book and my mom's work, you gotta start by being in touch with yourself before you can try to extend that to those around you. So I'm happy to answer questions or keep going, but that's kind of what I had prepared for the start there. Yeah.
Mahalo, Everett. Thank you, my love. Good job. I learned so much from listening to you, and we have this energetic exchange of excellence. So thank you. I have comments and questions, but I want to open it up. If anybody else has anything first, feel free to unmute yourself, or let me see if I can see. Anybody have anything before I start? Okay. You talked about reaction as part of reactivation, and I love that. I hadn't thought about that, and I wanted to thank you for that, and to ask a little bit more about how, you know, I live with you, so I get to see the firsthand grace and ease and solidity with which you approach your life. And you don't use those words; those are my words, but you do what needs to be done. You know, yesterday it was up at 5:30 for us to take you to the airport and do that sort of thing. Today it was up at 7 so you could prepare for this and eat the yummy brekkie that Dad made for us. And you just do what needs to be done. And I don't sense a whole lot of reactivity in you in terms of disappointment or impatience or anger, any of that. And I just wonder, like, what is your reaction to, you know, what happened with the surgery or with the changing schedule during the summer? It's not always the same every day. Like, what is more of your inner experience with that, and how do you work with whatever comes up?
Yeah, for sure. I think, well, when I first was thinking about the word reactivation, I was thinking re and then activate, kind of how what goes more synonymously with the definition. And then I kind of thought, oh, it's react. That's the first part of the word there. And so this idea about reacting to our external and internal environments, I think the word reactivity has kind of garnered a little bit of a chaotic or even negative connotation. Oh, you're being so reactive, reactivity. And I think for me personally, I don't give off a whole lot of that energy where I'm not super impatient or not so much chaos. I'm usually pretty laid back and just comfortable in my own skin. But that's not to say that there's not constant interplay with what's going on with me internally and everything around me. So with this experience, I was talking to Dad about this a little bit yesterday, but it's been a month now since I had the surgery, and we still don't know what the tumor is. I had an MRI done yesterday. I met with a liver specialist, but I feel like I'm just kind of in this extended period of unknown, and I haven't fully known how to approach it or begin to process it, just because I don't know what it is and I know so little about it. So in terms of my reaction to it, it hasn't been super prevalent. Like, it's definitely something that's been on my mind for sure, but I haven't formulated a super direct opinion, or opinion's not the right word there. I haven't let it move me around a whole lot, just because I don't know what's up. So I guess that by itself is a reaction or a decision to react less.
Right.
But I'm sure as we continue to find out more, there will be more specific and
right.
Yeah, I think there will be.
Thank you, Ev. Let me see if I'm getting you. What I hear you saying is it's not so much the opinion, but maybe the word is storyline or solidity around what it is, like because it's so unknown and there's uncertainty there, that as I hear you, there just seems to be space and not a whole lot of negative charge or negative connotation with the unknown. And I'm drawing a lot of connections here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to me that's your superpower, man. That's huge, to not be catastrophizing or negative thinking or projecting into the future tripping of what if, and you're grounded in the day. And like I was saying about your schedule, it shifts, or I've been approaching the story I've been telling myself is, let's ground in gratitude that it didn't happen. We were on the Nepali coast in Kauai, that we have medical insurance, that they found it, and that your schedule was more open this summer. And so just kind of grounding in that, so that I don't spin out. I tend to create more stories because the unknown can be a little more frightening to me. Whereas what I'm hearing with you is, I just don't know. I'm having energetic exchange with these doctors, nurses. I want to highlight for everyone listening that this is an opportunity, really for the first time in your life, in terms of a medical condition, to really take that further step in adulthood and autonomy. And in some of these systems, they see you as an adult and they make the appointments with you, and we can accompany you. But I even sat in the waiting room for one of these appointments, and that was new for me, new for you. And with that, there's a whole lot of gratitude, there's a whole lot of trust, and there's a whole lot of sweet surrender. And so that's how it's worked for me. And instead of hanging out in reactive of what does it mean? And you and I made some conscious choices, like, oh, let's Google search. What could it be? Let's limit how much time we go down that rabbit hole. Let's check in with each other about what we found, and really grounding in, what does support look like? And I asked if you wanted acupuncture or any alternative treatments in addition to going to see the Western med doc. And you said, I don't really want acupuncture right now. Kind of been there, done that. It's not your jam, and that's okay. But you did take me up on the massage offer. So you've had a couple of massages. And I wonder if you could just say a little bit more about that, if any of that jumps out.
The connections you were making there definitely landed. I think that's spot on. And yeah, the massages have been great. It's been a couple of years since I had them, but yeah, I've been feeling super relaxed with those. And I guess just to maybe try to put it into even simpler terms, I just haven't had a whole lot of headspace go to it. Like, it's definitely been there, but it's like I don't want to put my time and energy into something that I don't know is going to pay off, or I don't see my energy and time paying off if I'm putting them somewhere where I don't know what's going to happen. So I've definitely been curious. I've been wanting to know more. There's definitely drive for that. And we have looked into what it could possibly be for sure. But I've been writing about it, and that's the way that's been good for me to process all sorts of things, just writing. And I'm going to be interested to see, with whatever news we do get, how the reactivation goes from there, because while it definitely has been a process that's in motion right now, I can only imagine that once we have a more specific diagnosis and course of action, that the process of reactivation is going to be a little bit more clear, or maybe with the end in sight or something like that, it's going to be a lot easier to give it the headspace it deserves, because I know it does deserve it yet. It's just I haven't quite got to that point yet. But
thank you. And what that brings up for me is it will deserve more headspace or mental real estate, thought, preparation, care, consideration. But why go there until it's needed is what I'm hearing. Like there's a real discernment there. There's a distinction there. Everett, you live an extraordinary life. There's a reason you keep being my special guest on this show, and I keep asking. And I hope that our deep dive in this very personal thing, I want to thank you for your vulnerability and your courage to share about it. I had asked permission to send that email. I showed it to you before I pressed send. People are genuinely curious. I've had more energetic exchange with my email list and my beloved clients and friends than I've had before, because people want to know. They want to know who you are, what you do, how you respond, and how you're doing, and the amount of love and light and prayers. And I know that's a realm where I'm more comfortable talking about in terms of the spiritual element of reactivation. And we're supported in this. And so my experience moving through this is feeling very resourced, and being able to use this format of exploring the distinctions of extraordinary living, I think is a beautiful anchor, a beautiful tether for helping me understand more fully how to support you, how other people can view this. I wanted to do a quick shout out that you've been doing some work for me this summer, building up an offering. And I'm wondering, this is a segue to reactivation for those parents and people out there who are interacting, that's the word, with kids. Can you tell people a little bit about what you've been up to in Kajabi?
Yeah, for sure. I've been working on creating a new offering. I guess you could call it a course. It's more of a resource, but it's not done quite yet, but it'll be through my mom's Kajabi website, and it's called Connecting Parents, Thriving Kids, and it pulls on a lot of the material and resources that she learned in graduate school at Imago, and it's gonna have probably about 5 or 6 different parts, and it's about parenting, but it's not anything that's going to come in and try to tell you how to parent. It's more about working on fostering those relationships and connections with your child so that there can be open communication, so that there can be trust, and so that the relationships in your own home, or however that may look, can be the best they possibly can. So yeah, that's in the works right now. I'm pulling together stuff and working on creating that. So that's exciting.
Thanks, Everett. It's beautiful because it's pulling from Connected Parents, Thriving Kids, and it's also weaving in these distinctions.
Yeah.
Because I believe you and I have a firm foundation in our resilience of how we get through things. It's interesting that Mary started reading about the volcano is erupting, and this week we had something similar, and we had a brush fire right near our house that looked like a lava flow. You know, that was written many, many moons ago in Moonshot, but this week we had that, and my level of reactivity and pacing and worry was great. And Everett, you were just, you know, like, let's go look at it. Let's go in the car. Let's get a visual assessment of it. And then really having you and Mark as anchors in my life, you know, without being emotionally enmeshed with you, but that energetic exchange we have with each other. One thing I'm really struck by today as you talk about this recent change in your life with this appendectomy and the unknown diagnosis is you're aware how it affects those around you. And I think that's a beautiful awareness that perhaps a lot of adolescents don't have. I didn't have it when I was your age. When I was 17, it was all about me, and the world was going to hell back then too, Mary. And it was like, what can I do to fix it, and put the weight on my shoulders? And I didn't know how to deal with it. So I turned to some really unhealthy coping strategies to deal with that. So I was just really struck by your sensitivity to that, but not getting swept up in it. And so with the fire and being able to calm down, I just packed a bag and then went to bed, grounded in gratitude that we had a roof over our head, and we extended help to our friends if they needed it. They were more directly affected by the fire. My point in saying all this is we are building that distinction of extraordinary living in our own lives and with each other in this family, through trust, through focusing on our own business, through repairing when we need to repair, through having faith in whatever stories we tell ourselves about our life. And for me, that faith in a higher power. being able to then move into the realm of compassion and having clarity of mind by eating good foods, staying wildly hydrated, having movement, connecting in with nature, those sorts of things, and really being open to what is. And what you're talking about today is so enriched by this openness and this curiosity of, I don't know what's going on. And of course I want more information, but I'm not going to really go there until I need to go there. And I think there's a lesson in there for all of us to be reminded of and to be inspired by. And so as we're wrapping up our time today, I wanted to go over some of my list, and Everett and I just did it right before the show. I asked him to pop on a Facebook Live, the Instagram Live, and we stood in the sun and we let that sunlight hit the back of our eyes. Everett, I don't know if you knew I was doing that. It was a little activation moment. Some of the time we get up and we just get going on our day and we don't connect in with natural sunlight, and then it affects our actual circadian rhythm, the physical energy that you were talking about during the day. We need that retinal sun bath for at least a few minutes, letting the sun. I try to take my glasses off. I've heard lately the neuroscientists say that doesn't really matter as long as the sun is getting to our eyes within that first hour of awakening. It gives that cortisol pulse. That's when we have the most hormone of cortisol, that stress hormone, which actually serves to activate us. It's just we get overstressed in the day-to-day life. And so that is one thing that I consume. I told you I was going to look at my list in terms of what do I consume and what do I give. I consume the sun on the back of my eyes in the morning. I consume some supplements, and I have a little list here, a little hydration station. I'm not a endorsed provider of consumer services, but I love this organic India tea. This is Tulsi Focus. It is stress relieving and magical. This one brings mental clarity and cognitive support. Clementine vanilla. I also take magnesium. I think magnesium is super important for our nerves. This is the magnesium calcium blend. It's a brand I've been using for a long time. Magnesium calms the nervous system and helps me energetically exchange in a more calm way. Reishi supplement from Primal Herb. I put reishi in my tea. Mushrooms are these magnificent, I wouldn't be surprised if you study environmental studies, if you learn more and more about mushrooms. Their incredible brilliance, their interconnectedness, they're the largest organism. When I die, I want to be buried in a mushroom suit so that I become one with the earth again. I think there's a lot we can learn from mushrooms. So that's the other thing I consume are a few supplements. I consume a lot of water. I have started consuming a beautiful podcast called Poetry Unbound. And I did this yesterday on our way to the airport. And it's 15 minutes of a wonderful man and his beautiful accent reading a piece of poetry and analyzing it and getting curious about what it might mean. And it stimulates that right part of my brain, that creative, expansive pleasure center. The other thing I do is I watch my screen time. You guys that know me that this is really important in my life. That electronic RDA, the recommended daily allowance. If I can limit my screen time to a couple of hours a day, I'm golden. Realistically, that's not always possible. So 3 to 4 hours, 4 to 6. Beyond 6, I start getting really squirrely. So on those days, maybe I don't sit in front of Netflix or I don't look at so much social media, but I really try to turn stuff off by 8. If I'm watching something by 9, 9:30 at the latest, I'm really conscious about having electronics out of the sacred bedroom and trying to limit my screen time. It's not as hard and fast and rigid as it used to be, but it's still something I think about in terms of energetic exchange and where I can make choices. I water my plants. I brought my plants into my little corner here, watering plants, singing to them, breathing with them. We have an energetic exchange. I chant in the morning to give my breath, to pule, to pray, to let the universe know I'm here. I'm here, I'm showing up again. I smile upon awakening. I give that energetic exchange and that cascade of feel-good hormones in my body. Sometimes I wake up, I don't want to get out of bed. and I wrestle with gravity. And that doesn't serve me if I keep feeding that storyline. So I smile and I engage with some conscious breath work. The 4x4x4x4 breath we did, I did some shamanic work earlier this week, and they called that the shamanic breath. So the military has owned it, the yogis have owned it, the shamans have owned it. There's some power in that. I really invite all of us to play with that at your own time, in your own rhythm. Try it horizontal in bed, try it in the shower, the cold shower, whatever it is. Like inhale for 4, pause for 4, exhale for 4, pause for 4. Do it 4 times. It does not take long, and the return on investment is great. So I really wanted to make another push for that. I gargle. That stimulates the vagus nerve, calms it down. And I've been singing. And I know my beloved Mary has been taking voice lessons and singing, and she leaves me recordings of them, and they bring so much joy to me. So the energetic exchange of reciprocity there, I receive it. And then I start singing to the trees outside, or to the cats, or to my coffee. And when I sing, I calm myself down. So a big part of my journey is to calm my anxiety down so that I have enough energy to boost my depression up, so that I'm not just, I can't do anything, and to find that sweet spot in the middle so I can show up and be a mom who's willing to take charge and show up in Everett's life, and also allow space to grow myself out of the way so that he can live his own extraordinary life. And I don't do it perfectly, and I don't expect that anymore. And that's the biggest grace that I've been given. Go for it, Mary.
What do you gargle with?
Great. I used to do warm salt water, like when we lived in the Northwest, just that preventative sort of thing. I will show you my mouthwash. I use two products here. One that I love is the Ayurvedic Mouthwash. It has neem and pelu in it. I love the way this tastes. It's so good. I'm not going to read all the things, but I order this online. And then the teeth whitening tea tree oil is Desert Essence. You know, I'm always looking for products that don't have alcohol in them, because as a recovering alcoholic, I don't want alcohol in my mouthwash, and most of them have that. So these are my 2 favorite gargles. I'm hearing more and more about how gargling, you know, our vagus nerve is the wandering nerve. It's the soul nerve. It goes through us. When we sing, when we hum, we're starting to activate it here, and then it goes down. It affects our digestion. It affects how we metabolize stress. It affects so much. There's a whole summit out now on vagus nerve and how it affects every aspect of physical, mental, and spiritual health. So I'm a big fan of supporting that wandering nerve, that soul nerve, in the journey that it's on. So thanks for asking. Any other questions or comments? We're about out of time for today, folks. And we will open up for more Q&A. So what else do we do for closing, Mayor? I love that we're kind of out of sorts today, but we're still doing it because we don't have a problem here. And I just love that we're all together. So
I actually just wanted to say something to Everett, and the fact that you have a maturity and a wisdom well beyond your years. You are a blessing to many people, and your journey is happening to you for a reason. And for you to share it in the way you are experiencing it and approaching it will help many other people. Their journey may not be health related. It could be something else. It could be, you know, them reactivating to relationships or whatever's going on in your life. But your journey is happening to you to help yourself, but also more importantly, I believe, to help other people.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else before I pause the recording, the top of the hour? Melissa, anything you'd like to add?
It's beautiful to witness and have listened to. I had to step away and put Phoenix to sleep, but just listening to the calmness in your voice, Everett, that's speaks volumes to me. You know, I know when there's something that arises in my life, it's like, you know, I know my voice rises and I feel a sense of urgency, but to have that steadiness, and I can only imagine what you're experiencing as a family, and I feel that deeply, and I see you both.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Mary, thank you for joining, even with power cord troubles. Thank you for showing up and being my steady nudge master to the nudge master. Did you want to add anything before I stop the recording?
I just want to say real quick that Everett, yeah, I mean, you know, I think you're totally cool, and that's just awesome. And I really appreciated an update, but I would just wanted to share with people in case they could recognize their tendency. So when you talked about your, like a tendency might be how you were just staying solid, and but me, I would be more also drawing attention to myself. I think I see that when things are happening to people is they kind of turn it into this story, and that's super burning too. And I'm so grateful that you don't even, like, it didn't even come in your awareness, but that's what I've had to work on for my own self. And I've seen in people that I would just be like getting attention for that in this not good way, right? So I don't know, that just seemed important to mention, because especially if it resonates with somebody, that's something they can relate to. If that's something I could relate to, you didn't even say it. That's how little you relate to it, which is lovely, because it's a suffer in that attention getting way to turn something like that way. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Good point. Good point. All right, we are going to keep the room open. Aloha, welcome from Canada, Annie. We just finished a beautiful masterclass. Tanya, hopefully you're still here. I'm going to stop the recording, but don't go anywhere, folks. If you can hang out, if you need to go, I totally understand.